আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
আমি অনন্যা।
নারী অনন্যা, তার পাশে দাঁড়ান, তাকে ঘরে বাইরে অনন্যা হয়ে উঠতে দিন।
এমনটা ভেবেই যে অনন্যা নাম নিয়েছিলাম তা কিন্তু নয়। আমি কেবল ভেবেছিলাম মেয়েদের জন্য একটা কিছু করব, একটা প্ল্যাটফর্ম, একটা আলাদা প্ল্যাটফর্ম, সবার কথা বলবো। প্রায় 3 দশক আগের কথা। তখন ক্ষমতায় ছিল স্বৈরশাসক। মিছিল সমাবেশের উত্তাল সময়, হাটে মাঠে বন্যার পানিতে থই থই। আর দুর্যোগ মানে তো নারীর বড় বিপদ। তাই প্রথম কভার বন্যা নিয়ে। আর আপনি যদি আমার কাছে জানতে চান কেমন সমাজ আমি চাই, কি চায় অনন্যা, তাহলে আমি বলবো চলুন না সবাই মিলে একটা সমাজ করি, যেখানে নারী পুরুষ সকলেই এক কাতারে হাঁটবেন, একেবারে পাশাপাশি।
Welcome to the 13th episode of Shilpokotha. Like every episode, we also have two talented speakers with us in this episode. Both of them are in the same practice or similar working area, but they are from different locations. One of the guests is from Dhaka and one of the guests is from Cape Town. With no further delay, let me introduce them and welcome them on stage. We have Mahzabin Rothy from Dhaka with us. Hi. Hello, Rothy.
Hi.
And we have, yes, I can hear you. Perfect. And we have Gcotyelwa Mashiqa from Cape Town.
Hi, Sadya. Hi, Rothy. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you guys.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. A little
good
hot,
to see
but
you.
Yeah. Good to see you both. Welcome to the show, and thank you for making some time to share your journeys and let us know about the stories of all the creative work you guys do and will be doing ahead. So I'll start with Rothy. Rothy, where are you now? Where are you staying now? And how do you spend your regular days in this pandemic time?
Well, right now I'm in Dhaka. Yeah, I'm spending most of my. I just finished my master's graduation and finished my thesis. So yeah, most of the time I'm at home, not really going out, but yeah, trying to spend my time as mindfully as possible at home. So yeah, watching lots of movies and things that have been piling up for a long time. So trying to catch up with my pending list basically. So yeah, having a bit laid back time, but also working on a couple of projects that we are planning to do with friends and colleagues. Yeah, so far that's it.
Mm-hmm. I'll love to hear about those projects that you just mentioned. Let's see.
Sure.
Let's go to Gcotyelwa. Where are you now at this moment, and how are your days going?
I'm in Cape Town, in South Africa. My days are basically, I spend them indoors, like Rothy was saying. I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, already I was just like, I just finished a project with the Stellenbosch Triennale, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be a good opportunity for me to catch up on my schoolwork and my other work that I was doing. So yeah, it's just basically being indoors, and I'm writing my thesis for my master's as well. So I wish I could watch movies. But I do. I mean, when I try to kind of distress from the week, I do watch one or two movies and read a bit. Something that is outside academic theories, basically. Yeah. So that's how I'm kind of spending my days in Cape Town.
Okay, so you were born and brought up in Cape Town?
No, I was born in Johannesburg and I grew up in the Eastern Cape. That's another province in South Africa. So yeah, I spent my formative years basically in the Eastern Cape. I did my primary until high school, and then from there, I think I came to Cape Town for about 3 years before I could start my fine art degree. Yeah, so I'm not born in Cape Town. I'm more of an Eastern Cape person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was your study in?
I studied fine art at the university in another province. So prior to that, I was here in Cape Town because I was trying to figure it out. What exactly do I want to do within the creative industry? And I went to AMAC. It was an NPO that was teaching basically disadvantaged, not disadvantaged, but people who couldn't afford to go to university to get an art degree. So that's where I suppose my love for art and my introduction to photography actually started. And then from there, I applied to the university in Bloemfontein to actually study, to get a proper degree, I suppose. Yeah. Fine art. I studied fine art, and yeah.
And now you're practicing as a curator, if I'm not wrong. So
Yes, now I'm practicing as a curator. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it from Rothy. So you were born and brought up in Dhaka, Rothy?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
No other province.
No. Not at the very beginning though, but later, yeah, I moved out a lot, moved around a lot. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then what did you study in?
Well, I did my undergrad in civil engineering. So I graduated in engineering and then I worked in the construction sector. One of the last projects that I worked with, it's now the La Meridian building, which is a 4-star hotel, I guess now. So that's the last project. And then I actually wanted to study photography. So I got an opportunity to study photography. So I said bye-bye to engineering and I joined Pachala to study photography. And I did study there. And later on, I joined Bengal Foundation. They had one of the 3 galleries they had at that time in Gulshan. It used to call Bengal Art Lounge. So I worked there. I worked with Bengal for like around over 3 years as their assistant curator for the visual arts program. And then I started, then I actually moved to Europe and for like around been in Europe, several things. Some of them are scholarships and I did was my master's. It was a joint master's degree. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was your life in a nutshell, almost.
Yes. Yeah.
So I will go back.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Mashiqa.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was thinking about it. I was looking at your bio. I'm like, oh my God, she has an exciting practice, because you studied civil engineering, and I'm just been I've studied fine art, so I've been always in this, sector. I've never got to experience other ways of thinking and doing and working, so you must have such a I don't know, such a maybe meaningful way of working and curating and thinking about art, you know, especially from a engineering perspective.
We will try to explore that, actually, exactly that. I think that's why you two are together here, because you both have the photography background, and then working as researcher and curator. Also, Rothy has this extra adding to the career from being an engineer. So it was, Rothy's designation was almost not fitting in the design, like so many designations. Then I was requesting, Rothy, can you cut some of them off and give me a shorter one? So I'll go back a little for Rothy. So getting into the photography course in Pathshala, was that your beginning in the visual art?
Yes, like academically, let's say, or like yeah, that was the beginning. But I was practicing photography before I joined Pathshala. So because you have to submit your portfolio and stuff to be able to get accepted there. So academically, if you want to call it, then yeah, that was the beginning of my visual art career.
And what kind of work you did, like before Pathshala, or would you like to share some of your work, or what kind of work you do in photography before we jump into your curatorial practices?
Sure.
Any work you want to show?
Sure. Yeah, one project I started doing, it was on Jatra. Jatra is a kind of a mobile theater, which was once it was a very popular means of entertainment, and Jatra. So yeah, my project was in Jatra, and I continued it for a while, and even after joining Pathshala, I continued working on, and so it started actually very coincidentally, because I actually went to Shilpokotha to participate to visit a different program, but then I saw that okay, there is this Jatra event happening, and naturally I was very curious. I was just drawn into their green room, and I started talking to them, and yeah, they're adorable people. And yeah, like what I always do, like we ended up talking, and we shared a lot. So from there, actually, my interest grew on this entire practice. And then I followed a lot of Jatra troops, some of them mostly in North Bengal. And yeah, so I basically wanted to capture the drama that stage and also off stage, and also drama is not everything, of course, but and also their regular life, let's say. So it was a documentary project on Jatra, and yeah, this is, I think, one of my very early projects, photography projects. Yeah, around 2010, 11. So yeah.
Impressive. Sorry if the screen is going a bit slow. I think it's the internet. Let's see. I can. I don't know if Mashiqa, do you hear us all clearly? I hear everyone a bit broken.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, it must be my internet then. Okay, so very impressive, Rothy. And then while studying in photography, how did you got the interest growing into curatorial practice, and also having this engineering background? How was it to say bye to that and decide that, okay, I start in photography and then growing into curatorial practice?
Well, I actually always I wanted to study photography rather than engineering, but it was my father's dream that he wanted me to be an engineer. So I joined engineering, and yeah, it made him happy. It made me happy for a while, but then I I wanted to follow my passion, and because I always try to do things that have some meaning for me. And yeah, just if it might sound very cliche, but I literally followed my heart and followed started doing photography. And from photography, then I became interested in curating, because when I was in Pachala, I was always checking out works, like exhibitions, artists who are exhibiting abroad, or working abroad or in different places. So it was like 2010 or 2011. Like, the notion of curating was not very prominent, or very at that time. But yeah, few people were working, but it was
Is it still?
it is, but now it grew a little, I would say, which is a very positive thing, that now people are getting interested, and people are going abroad, and they're doing their own projects, and a lot of interesting works are happening, so which is great. Yeah, so I think my shift from photography, I won't say it was a complete shift, because I still do photography, but not like the way how I used to do it. It's sort of kind of for myself now, and I did few little projects. But yeah, curating I'm doing now professionally. I'm pursuing the career as a curator. So I think I always wanted, I was fascinated by the notion of storytelling, and curating is a fascinating form of storytelling. And so that brought me into, I landed at Bengal, and that was the best art gallery in Dhaka at that time. So yeah, it just one thing led to another, and from there I did all the things that which I did later, basically.
All right. I'll come back to you. Let's hear it from Mashiqa, that how was your journey from photography to curatorial practice? Tell us about that.
Ooh, well, for me, it was when I was in my undergrad, when I knew that I was not going to be a practicing artist. Remember, I'm trained as an artist, right? And even though in my fine art degree, I didn't purely focus on photography, so I think I had gotten proper training and experience prior to actually getting my fine art degree, because when I was in Cape Town, yes, I was introduced to photography for the first time, and I got to be involved with other practicing photographers, like basically photojournalists or documentary photographers who already had years working as photographers, So I remember one project we did with a photojournalist from there was but there still is it's a Cape Town newspaper. It's the big one in Cape Town, and they decided to get people to come on board, and we'll document basically the city. We'll go to the township specifically, where we'll do like a 2 days project where we take pictures from Friday until Saturday. I think Sunday, then we'll have an exhibition in the very same space, in the very same community we're taking images. That's how they tried to expand the language of photography. So that is the experience that I had when I started my degree. And when I was in varsity, there wasn't much focus on that kind of documentary photography. Or obviously, the theory was based on Europe. It was very Eurocentric. So when I was, I think last year in my undergrad, and then I realized actually, I love talking about art. And at that time, the title or the word curator was not in my vocabulary, it's only later, suppose 2 or 3 years later, or 2 years later actually, when I started thinking about, curation or being a curator, and at that time there was no university that was offering curatorial studies in South Africa. All the curatorial studies was offered in outside the country and also outside the continent. So just to kind of cut the story short, and then in 2015 I enrolled for curatorship at the University of Cape Town, Michaelis rather, and that's when I started my journey, as a curator, I suppose. After that, and when I finished my degree, there were already talks about this new museum that was opening at the waterfront. And and one of my friends, classmates, shared an ad, like it is an advertisement for curatorial trainees, and like, apply for this. I'm like, okay. I wasn't confident that I'll actually get in, because I realized there's a lot of people actually want to go into the same field that I was wanting to go into, and I suppose I was kind of feeling insecure about myself, what I understand as curation is, because I haven't had an experience, or I haven't had even a mentor, basically, who was a curator at that time, that I applied and I got in, so that's when my journey basically started at the museum, at the new museum, which is Mocha. And that's where I sort of launched my curatorial career. And because it's a new museum, and it was, there were different centers that sort of were focusing on different disciplines within the traditional art subjects, I suppose. And I was responsible for the photography center at that time. And yeah, so that's how, again, photography kind of comes back to me through curatorially. Yeah.
But then you were only focusing on the photography section, or you had to deal sometimes other disciplines of visual art also?
I think in the beginning it was just purely this is a new museum. They were still trying to figure it out how to function basically as a museum, and I suppose having these different centers or silos, if you want to call it that way, it sort of helped, to and because of my academic experience, and I'll gain experience in working as a photographer, or practicing as a photographer actually prior to joining the museum. I sort of became an ideal candidate to be in that center. But I mean, it's a museum.
Yeah.
You can't just like focus on one medium. You're a curator as well. I mean, it's not just photography that moves me. There's other art mediums or art forms that also moves me. So it's limiting to say I'm just purely focusing. I mean, you can, but for me, I just felt like I need to be able to learn and understand other mediums. Just like be stuck in my own head. Yes, when it comes to photography, is my first love, that I cannot deny. Even if in an exhibition, I think photographs are one thing that attracts me. But yeah, but it was also just like working in a museum where there's other mediums, and when you're having an exhibition, it changed where we include other mediums, in the exhibition, not just like photography, even though that the first love is,
the photography. Yeah. So I would like to know the curatorial course that you took before joining Mocha. Was that supporting in the practice when you joined this Zaitsmoka? And is there a lot of courses in Cape Town or in South Africa that you can look for and have a basic foundation of a curatorial practice? How is the educational support there for the people who wants to, for someone who wants to pursue a career in curatorial practice?
I mean, this was like a postgrad. It's offered to when you have done your undergrad. It's not like it's an undergrad course, So once you have your and what's interesting about this, I mean, Michaelis CCA was the first university, I think still is actually in the country, that offers curatorial studies,
Michaelis.
Yes, Michaelis School of Fine Art. It's at UCT. It's a satellite campus for UCT. It's So I think it's the only school at the moment that offers that course in curatorial studies.
In Cape Town, you mean?
In South Africa, if I may put it that way, like just in the whole country. Because
the WITS don't have any curatorial courses?
Say that again?
WITS, don't they have any curatorial courses?
I don't know if they have. So with our education, I cannot do my master's. There's another step that's in between my undergrad and your master's. So there's this step, which is called honors, So I have to do my honors before I could do my master's in South Africa. So I don't know about WITS, to be honest, but I know they have a curatorial focus when you're doing your master's. I'm not sure about your as a postgrad. I mean, sorry, as a master's. What am I saying? As a program. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it supportive? The thing about studying an actual work experience, there is a bit of disjuncture, in the sense that you can learn. I mean, with the Michaelis one, yes, there were practicals. But also that does not mean when you get into an actual job, you're now gonna go back to your notes to the problem. Yeah. I think it is just supportive in the sense that you've got this kind of background knowledge, you've got this reservoir you can tap into when you're conceptualizing a show. I think in that sense, theoretically, yes, you've got, because I mean, curation, it is about conceptual ideas, but also the practical side, then that's when. But yeah, so it kind of gives you ways and it gives you tools basically on how to approach exhibition making and how to think about exhibitions, So yes, it does, even though, I mean, you cannot literally translate that knowledge into making an exhibition. That's why I'm saying there's a bit of disjuncture there, not in a bad way, but just that, yeah, it's not not physical or tangible, the supportive aspect of it. Yeah,
but it does give you the confidence. At least you don't feel without any sort of base. I think if we hear something about this from Rothy, we will understand how different situations can be in a different location. Let's hear it, Rothy. So I remember, Rothy, I remember when you used to talk about, I really want to get into curatorial practice, and it was quite a struggle to find a proper training or any academic support for this. So what was your story? Did you have any?
It was very difficult.
Yeah. So did you find any introduction for the curatorial practice while your photography study, and then how did you got into the study and find your way?
When I was studying in Pachala, I had the opportunity to work with Chobi Mela, which is a great photography festival based in Dhaka. And so I worked with Munem Wasif. I was working as his curatorial assistant. And then I also worked with Shehzad Chaudhary for Longitude Latitude, the periodical exhibition that he organizes. So these were the little things that that gave me sort of an idea that how the logistic part works. Regarding organizing an exhibition. But then when I started working for Bengal, I started getting to know a different side of it, because Bengal Art Lounge was a commercial gallery. So until now, before joining Bengal, I was exposed, let's say, only towards organizing part of an exhibition. But since Bengal, when I joined Bengal, I was more involved into gallery management, and also networking with artists, not only local artists but also international artists as well, and also from
other
Bengal.
parts of the visual art, right?
Right.
Other than photographers.
Yes. So there were all kinds of artists, basically: photographers, painters, sculptors, sound artists, new media artists. So yeah, that was really a great stepping stone for me, I would say, having the opportunity to work with Bengal for over 3 years. But then it was not really enough for me. So I started actually looking for further opportunities, because I always I see myself in a global position, but not really. I never wanted to be confined into within my comfort zone. And my father used to always encourage me to to just go abroad, see the world, and the moment you will step outside of your comfort zone, you will see like what the world is, and these kind of things. So I started looking into academic programs, and I applied to a lot of them, but the funding was a bit challenge. So I got a couple of scholarships, but most of them were like 50% scholarships, like in Bard College in the US, and also CCA in California College of Art. But it was, of course, a bit of a challenge for me. But then I got a few scholarships. I got funding from the Vienna Ministry of Culture, Austrian Ministry of Culture. So that was for the first time I did something internationally, and it was a 2-month residency program, and at the end of the program we curated an exhibition at Krinzinger Projekte. It's a very famous gallery in Vienna. It is like the one of the oldest gallery in Vienna. Then one thing actually led to another, and I got another scholarship from Germany to work with a museum there in Hanover. So that was a really that really changed my notion about curating, basically, because in Hanover I was working with the archive of an artist. He passed away, so the artist estate, they donated huge piles of work to the museum, and I was working with the conservator and also the curators. There were 2 curators I was working with, and also the third party stakeholders, and also other artists, and also other galleries, like wherever that artist, his name was Zasha Weidner. He's a fantastic photographer. I just love his work. If you guys have an opportunity, just check out his work. He's absolutely mind-blowing. So I worked with Sasha's work, and also, of course, like other projects that ongoing projects or also future projects that the Sprengel Museum in Hanover they were working with. So because that was like quite a it was for 6 months. It's not too long, but also not too short either. So that was a great opportunity to getting to know how the curator works and in an international level. And the curator I was working with mostly, her name was Inka Shube, and she was a fascinating woman. And she was, she was introducing me to a lot of other curators who are from Germany, outside of Germany, and I was also going for a lot of trips. So I used to actually go to a different city during all my weekends. Every Saturday, Sunday, I was going to all the neighboring city, or sometime the curator, she also sent me, okay, there's a very nice exhibition going on, so I know the curator and I know the artist, so why don't you just go and meet them? So it was an amazing time for me, actually being in Hanover, and also my colleagues, they were very, very supportive. And whenever I wanted to know anything and I was confused about, so they always helped me with further guidance. And yeah, but these two were like very short projects, but I was kind of looking for like an academic I was craving for this academic side of it, this curatorial thing. Then I actually got the full scholarship. It's called Erasmus Mundus from European Union, and it's a fully funded scholarship for 2 years, and everything is covered. So it's a joint master's degree program, and it's also a nomadic program, because for every semester I had to go to a different country, to a different university. I started in Austria, then
Sounds
second
perfect.
semester. What?
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect for me because I always
Yeah.
wanted to travel. It's a big part of I'm very passionate about traveling. So yeah, I started in Austria, and my second semester was in Denmark, and for the third semester I went to Poland. Then I did my internship in Germany at the museum. It's called ZKM. They have the biggest collection of computer art and also media art or new media art in Europe. So yeah, there I was working with their collection, and I was working with works like Marina Abramovic and Ulay and Dara Birnbaum. So yeah, artists like this. So it was a great learning opportunity, and also yeah. So yeah, in short, I mean, there's so many things in between, but yeah, in short, like these are the things that I did. But the support that I got from the European Union, that actually made it possible for me to study in this master's program, because I wanted to strike a balance between my practical experience and also academic experience. I graduated in engineering in 2010, and I was working, on and off as an art worker until 2016, and then in 2017 I started the master's, and then I finished it. So yeah, the master's program itself was quite interesting because it's called Media Arts Cultures. So I get to study about art, science, and technology. It's the blend of all three, basically. So, for example, artists who are working with big data, or artists who are collaborating with scientists and engineers. So I was working with them, and also I was studying about them. So actually, my it kind of came into full circle. My engineering degree, my engineering experience actually became very happy to study this program. So yeah.
Quite an experience. Quite an experience. So how hard
Yeah,
it was
that
to
sounds
find all
exciting.
this, to find all this opportunity together. How hard it was. I mean,
It was
I mean, we can't
very
imagine.
it was very hard, in short, because you know, I always struggle with that, the kind of thing that I wanted to do. I could never really, discuss it with someone, let's say. So I had to, like you were saying that about my designation. So I actually sometimes I had to create my own designations, because I had to carve out my own path, because the things that I'm doing or I have been doing is not very a traditional mix, let's say. So yeah, it was very difficult. I had to always look for things that that could go with my interest. And also, yeah, it's a lot of work, like a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of running around throughout the city to get the papers, to get the visa and stuff. And you know how it is to get any visa for with a Bangladeshi passport. So it was quite challenging, but it was worth it. It was totally worth it, because I thought of that period as my time, like, as a boot camp. So I really had hard times, but I did manage to find out the things that I was interested into, and that thing that I love to do. So yeah, I always try to do things that mean something to me. Just I don't like to do things just for the sake of doing it. But yes, like a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, as I already mentioned.
So all the people out there who are willing to have a study abroad should definitely contact Rothy after this.
Of course, I always, like, whoever contacts me, I always
Yeah.
and I actually have my own group in Facebook. It's called Curatorial Opportunities, so where I regularly post anything, any opportunities related to curatorial practice. So there, I think we have it's like 5,000 people join, like from the global platform. So a lot of people also share, whatever they find out. It's a nice gathering of people, curators, obviously. So, yeah.
So I quickly wanted to show some of the images from this vast traveling and nomadic courses, but the internet is just not supporting. So I'm really sorry. I know I pushed you a lot to share all these files with me, and the internet is not allowing me to do this. But I'll try if I can show it while we are talking more. So again, very shortly, I would like to know, in your practice, in these courses that you went through and all the amazing experiences, did you felt like you were missing a solid background of art history? Because in Bangladeshi context, it's at least in Bangladeshi context, we understand that whatever curatorial practice you do, you really need a huge amount of art history background. How was that for you? Because you obviously didn't started with that. But then did you, like, how did you manage with that? How do you look at that point?
Well, that was my idea as well, that, until or unless I have a degree in art history, I cannot become a curator, like a professional curator. But it turned out like you certainly can, because, you don't really learn only in academia. Like, if you're curious enough, you can learn anytime. And of course, the background in art history helps a lot, because whenever you are planning to organize a well-researched exhibition, of course, research does not have any alternative in curating. But in our context, most of the exhibitions that are being organized in our part of the world, the research part is missing in most of the time. But like, if you think about global art, situation of art history. So now a lot of scholars these days, like the history of art now sort of turn into the history of exhibitions, because whenever you are trying to getting to know about an artist or a certain continent or certain location, you look for like, okay, what are the exhibitions that happened, or who the participating artists, and yeah, what is their background, or what was the topic is about, if it's it resonates with the local context, or it's a global theme. So that thematic exhibition, that research part is still lacking in our part.
Do you think in our part of the world, the research part is more missing because of lack of resources? What can be the possible reasons?
Resources, of course, one of the reasons, but also the art scene in our part of the world,
Continent, yeah.
in our continent, subcontinent, it's a very small community, and you are working in the art scene, so it's always about like personal relationships as well. So of course, like how it happens in Europe, that you have to go to library, you have to dig into 30 years old databases or documents. But here in Bangladesh, if you have really good relationship with artists, like if you go to them, like they are always ready to help you out. So we have that very organic way of helping out each other. So I think it's a matter of practice that it did not really grow, because the curating curatorial practice itself did not really, it's still a niche practice, like what you were saying at the beginning. So I think it's a matter of time, but as like people are being exposed internationally, and people are going abroad, like you did a wonderful research trip, so everybody is getting to know slowly but gradually that what is happening, and what does curatorial practice actually mean. So I think it will come around slowly, but
hopefully very slowly it is coming. Anyways, so Mashiqa, what would you say about this from your side? The research practice and art history background, how was it playing a role in your practice?
I mean, like Rothy was saying, at least from my perspective, is that you don't necessarily need an art history background, because there's a lot of curators who actually has started out not, have not studied fine art. You've got curators who have studied anthropology, sociology, who are now
Mass
venturing into art. Sorry.
Also mass communication.
What are you saying, Sadya?
A lot of curators who came from mass communication also. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe it's a yes or no kind of an answer, that yes, maybe you do need art history or no, so it's not really like a deal breaker, to be honest. But yeah, for me, I mean, I call myself a researcher before I am a curator, because I don't think the exhibition that I have done have been the results of the research, whether I've got like a month basically to research that exhibition, so I could never put them aside. I could never like take the research aspect of it away, because even the exhibition, I started to think about the exhibition itself as a research, as a live research, particularly this makes sense when I co-curated Still Here Tomorrow to High Five You. That was in Zuid in 20. What year are we in? 2020. Oh my God.
2018.
I think in last year, 2019. Was it 2018? I can't remember. Like I'm
19, I think.
You see, because of lockdown.
You were just in when we talked, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think it was last year, 2019, in January, just the end of January, that when the exhibition opened. So that show particularly, it was the results of the research that we did probably like 5 months prior. then also as the exhibition is up, because the decision was that because of the space and the amount of work we had, because we wanted to show everybody. So we thought of, dividing that show into 2 chapters, and we thought we'll just change works as time goes by. If you came last week, chances that in 2 weeks' time, what you have seen in that space might have been completely, not there or removed or different. So as a way of just making people to come back. And so we looked at it as a research in action, basically, that show for me. So research sometimes is not really like just going into the libraries, just spending months in a place, or with an artist. Yes,
when
it
you
is
deal
that,
with
but the work.
yeah, when you deal with contemporary art, where is the art history about it? Because it's happening now. Before it becomes history, you are dealing that in a museum. So in that context, sometimes I feel that contemporary art is right here. So I mean, you have to wait until it becomes the history, and then you study it and then deal with it. It doesn't work all the time. So Mashiqa,
but also it's
want to look at one of the. Yeah, we can keep hearing you while we look at some of the work of the show when the water broke.
Cool.
Would you like to share something about it quickly? This is the when the water.
What
broke?
show is that? Sorry.
When the water breaks.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is my a recent show that I've curated with Michael Jacobs, a friend of mine. And I was working as I mentioned earlier that in the beginning of the year I was also a part of the curatorial team at this. And I was also approached by great Moderator, Okona, and she just came in and she just wanted to do something for that weekend of the art fair, but there was the possibility of the show, staying a bit longer than a weekend. So Michael and I basically worked on the show, and it was the concept of when the water breaks. It's it's sort of funny because when we went into the space, there was a leak, in the building, and I was just the Great Moor stuff was like, this lake has been here for a while. We've been trying to call people to come in and see what the problem is, what causes the water to, to come through. And I was like, what does that mean? Like spiritually, what does that mean?
It's a sign.
From a very, from a very esoteric and philosophical, of thinking, what does that mean when the water just keeps coming back? And I had read, I had watched a YouTube clip about water, and so that idea kind of stayed with me, and that's how I sort of conceptualize this show. And but when I started talking to the artists and just getting to understand, no, go back. Now you're showing another work that was not actually part of the of that. So I started engaging with the artists and asking them which work you wanna, you want me to have to show for this part of as part of this exhibition. And I started listening to their stories. I realized it was about displacement. It was about discomfort, and I thought, what if the water is not just, like a natural element that just happens to be here? What if there's something more? What if it alludes to what everybody is feeling, what everybody is talking about in their artworks? So not just like, well, there's water, but it is also like a personal experiences of each artist, in the world in which they inhabit. So all these works are basically about that, notion of discomfort, notion of not belonging, again, this water didn't belong here, but it is here, you know, so what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, so that's how I sort of conceptualized the show, based on that, being in a space where you're not wanted, basically, you know. I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, so that was the show I did with Michael Jacobs this year. And yeah, that's not
Yeah.
mine. That's
No, that's Rothy's.
CEO.
I'm just trying to fit in within the time. We're almost at the end of the 1 hour that we have. I was trying to show some of the works because for the internet speed, I couldn't do it before. So quickly was willing to look into at least one of the work that Rothy talked about, the experiences. But I think everybody can find your profiles and more works through your Facebook profiles, and they can get in touch. And anyway, people will be getting in touch with Rothy for having this exciting academic courses for last year. Yeah. So that was really interesting to hear about the show also, and the challenges in curatorial practice, and how this art history and non-art history actually plays role in contemporary practice. So now, Mashiqa, in your practice, do you think you're getting more and more comfortable or confident about other disciplines of visual art, or you still think the first love is first love and you're going to stick with that?
I mean, the first love is first love. I think I'm owning it, you know, and I'm okay with that. But also, I am not isolating other mediums, you know. I'm also passionate about. I also love painting, you know. Again, I think this is because of the traditional art forms, or the traditional education or art education that I got, you know, in the beginning, because I really went to a very traditional art school, you know, painting.
So the first orientation was on that.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, I mean, it's not about kind of, and I'm very sensitive. I don't. It's not the medium that. Yes, the medium might, you know, move me or drive me, but also just engaging with the artists themselves is what also informs, you know, my curatorial practice. It's also trying to present, you know, because I take their work very seriously. I take their work as something that is very personal. You know, it's not easy. I treasure it. You know, it's like working with. It's somebody's dreams, it's somebody's soul, you know, so I have to kind of give it respect and dignity that it deserves. So that's my approach basically when working with artworks. It's not just photography, but also I have the same, I think, love and respect for other mediums, you know, because of and that comes, I think, with photography is just like purely photography, but with other mediums, it also comes when I had time, one-on-one time with the artist, you know, with the producer of the work. Then I get to form this kind of personal, you know, I suppose, yeah, personal take on the work because of the person that had produced it. So yeah, so the story also matter, you know, why the artist had created this work. I mean, I've got actually I bumped into him this, you know, just 2 hours ago, a friend of mine who's a brilliant painter. You probably met him, Dikumbule.
I think
Sadya.
I can't remember now, but I think I've met quite a lot of artists there, and it was an exciting experience for me. But tell me very shortly, how is the infrastructure there? Is it a supporting infrastructure, the art infrastructure for curatorial practice? I will throw the same question to Rothy once you like put some light on this. When you start as a curator, does the art infrastructure help you to sustain? Is it that kind of supporting structure there in South Africa?
I definitely say we do have infrastructure in South Africa. I mean, I'm just thinking about but does it sustain what I'm doing? It depends. I mean, if you're working in a museum, so you're sort of in a data space. I'm not. I'm sort of like independent, you know. So there is support, and I think as a curator as well, you have to kind of make these relationships happen for yourself. You know, you cannot wait for somebody to invite you to create a show. You kind of have to start having, you know, this relationship with artists that you admire. But also for us, and maybe for me particularly, I am part of Art Meets, and Art Meets is an app that was founded by Michaela Lemberus, and it's just a platform where artists can be able. So that's another, you know, infrastructure that Michaela has created, so that artists can be.
So it's an alternative networking
you know,
platform where you can build your own
so
connections.
that, you know, absolutely, yeah. So they can just basically present their works, and so it's trying to build a bridge between the artist and the collector. You know, if you don't have a gallery that represents you as an artist, then you've got admits that sort of exposes you into those potential buyers or collectors. So there is infrastructure, but also support. It's basically what you have to kind of put that in motion yourself. You know, you have to like start building this relationship. You can't wait for somebody outside to come and invite you, or be in an institution that would
especially
allow
when
you. You have to do that. Yeah, you have to absolutely. You kind of have to make it happen.
What do you think, Rothy?
Well, I think, of course, there are a lot of challenges working in the art scene in Bangladesh or in South Asia. But if we start making a list of things what we don't have, the list will be unending. It will be never ending. But I think we can, rather than focusing on that, I think we can focus on what are the things that we can do and what are the things that we already have, and what we as a curator can, you know, bring into the plate. And because I think because let's say when I was in Bengal, so I was doing the exhibition installation. I was going to visit artist studios. I was talking to even the press people, like with the graphic designer.
Everything almost, yeah.
But like the curator has to play a role like a kind of like a Durga or Ma Durga. It's now time for puja now. So
I have to explain Durga to Mashiqa later. Wait for it, Mashiqa.
Yes, please.
Yeah, she's the goddess, one of the goddesses.
One of the goddesses, yeah.
In Hindu religion.
With a lot of hands.
Yeah, with lots of hands, and she does everything basically. So I think like we as a curator have to play a role, somewhat similar. So I think like we as a curator, yeah. So and also we can also nurture that space. You know, how we can bring art more closer to people. Like I think like as a curator, we can also work in the juncture of mediation, like how we can make it more accessible to people. It should not be only people, you know, certain group of people and scholars and academics, they go, or artists, they goes to galleries and that's it. It should not be the case. So we as a curator,
when you were working, Rothy, with Bengal, could you apply all this, you know, desires of communication, accessibility, inclusiveness in that, you know, commercial structure that you're working in? Or you think it's more have to be an independent approach?
It was more the framework of Bengal, how it functioned. It was different because, as I said, it was a commercial gallery, and the location of it, it was very different, and it was also, you know, 5, 6, 7 years before. But now, like with my exposures to different art scenes, with my working experience from different museums, mostly it's in Europe. So, like now, I know like how how methodologically we can implement this kind of things, because you can desire a lot of things, but if you do not build up a certain infrastructure, that will collapse, and that structure will collapse. And yeah, I can refer from experience in engineering as an engineer. If your structure does not have like a solid footing, does not have a solid foundation, then that structure will not remain. It will collapse at some point. So same in curating as well. Same as developing the art scene in Bangladesh or in South Asia. We can come up with new initiatives, but of course we have to be mindful about that. Those initiatives needs to resonate with our local context, because things that we learn abroad, like in the US or in Europe, it's a very westernized concept or method. So not all those methods will be will sync or can be implemented in our context. So but as we are also growing, the art scene is also growing, of course. So I think like if we are mindful enough, then sustainable solution, as sustainable art scene can be developed. And of course, but it actually it's a lot of responsibility on the curator's shoulder as well, because they're mostly the key person to tackle a lot of different works actually. So
I'm going to end this episode today with the last question to you. What do you think would be the first foundation for this non-existing infrastructure in Bangladesh in the art scene? What do you think would be the first pillar that we need to start working on?
Well, very, very first, there should be at least two. One should be that support, that mindset, that because we don't really have that much local support, and in most of the cases we are based on support from abroad, like for, let's say, like the programs, that the scholarships that I received, they were all from abroad, and the scholarships that you received, they were also from abroad. So locally, we don't have that support for a curator to grow, and for if to support their the initiatives they are taking in. And this is a must. And another thing should be the notion of research, the aspect of research. The support should there should be support, and also we should focus on more research part while designing an exhibition. So that will be that will remain in long run. It won't be just a 1 week gig or like a 2 weeks gig. It will remain. It will become a part of the art history of Bangladesh. So these two are fundamental. These two are very profound needs, things that should be that we should have. I would say this too.
Thanks. That's very insightful. I'm going to wrap this up with just saying hi to all the people who have been watching us and commenting. S.A. Rima, Farida Firdausi, Yasmin Jahan Nupur. Thank you very much for being with us through the show. Mahbuba Rikta, Tracing a City, Imran Chaudhuri, Tuso Maruthane, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Suraya Chaudhuri, Farah Nazmoon, and Roger Rahman for being with us. Thank you both for making time and sharing all this insightful conversation. I'm sure we have a lot more to talk. I only feel like we just started. There is a lot more to talk. I'm sure we can bring you again together in this show in some other episode with some more interesting experiences that you will go through. I yet have to ask Rothy the exciting projects that you're going to start. You shared in the beginning. I didn't got the time, but we will come back again to hear those once you get along with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone, whoever.
Thank you for the invitation, Sadya. And thank you.
Anannya. I think Anannya is making this platform very amazingly for creative people, and especially the female practitioners here. Thanks to you all.
So we need more platforms like this.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and thanks for organizing this. It's a great platform.
Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. All right.
Take care. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
সবাইকে অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ পুরো সময় জুড়ে আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকার জন্য। এবারের পর্ব এখানে শেষ করছি। আগামী পর্বে আমরা আবার দুজন আর্টিস্টকে নিয়ে হাজির হব আগামী শনিবার রাত 9টায়। আশা করি আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকবেন। ধন্যবাদ।